If you love animated content that breaks down book summaries and dives into fascinating topics, we'd love your support. Creating these videos takes a lot of time and effort, and by subscribing, you help us continue bringing you this valuable content consistently. Your support means the world to us. Hit that subscribe button and join us on this exciting journey. And now, let's continue with the video. Mindfulness. Chapter 1. Can mindfulness make you less anxious? Do you remember the last time you lay in bed overthinking something? Maybe you worried about an argument you had with a colleague or a friend. You probably tried to stop yourself. You asked, "Why can't I let this go?" But this probably only made things worse. And then the next day, exhausted from lack of sleep, you felt even more upset. What can you do when it feels like your anxiety is taking over? And how can you address your problems without letting them overwhelm you? In Mindfulness, Oxford Professor Emeritus Mark Williams and journalist Dr. Danny Penman give us an answer. Mindfulness. Mindfulness is the process by which we acknowledge our thoughts and feelings without criticism. To be mindful, we need to live moment by moment and carve out time to check in with our thoughts. This can help mitigate our anxiety when things get overwhelming. To guide us in becoming more mindful, Williams and Penman give us various meditation exercises. Meditation is a practice of mindfulness that encourages us to focus on one thing at a time. Through this actionable guide, you'll learn the skills to meditate and understand the theory behind mindfulness, and you'll achieve a new sense of control over your emotions. Key idea: when we are mindful, we acknowledge our thoughts and emotions. As of 2011, Penman and Williams estimated that around 10% of the population could expect to become depressed in the coming year. And every decade since the 1950s, anxiety levels have continued to rise dramatically among young people. To address problems like these, we need to feel in control of our emotions. In other words, we need to become more mindful through practices like meditation. Meditation requires you to set aside time to become aware of your emotions, either through breathing exercise or thought exercises. This way you can notice what thought patterns might be exacerbating your anxiety. Key idea: mindfulness can lead to a happier and healthier life. There are consistent empirical data that mindfulness can make you healthier and happier. These benefits have been studied at institutions like the University of Oxford, the University of Toronto, Cambridge, and at the UMass Medical Center. For example, studies show that mindfulness can curb depression just as well as antidepressants. It can increase memory and mental stamina. And some research shows it can reduce the impact of serious conditions like cancer and chronic pain. People who practice mindfulness can also strengthen their immune systems to fight off cold, flu, and other diseases. In the next chapters, you'll learn, step by step, how to integrate mindfulness and meditation into everyday life. Chapter 2. Acknowledging your autopilot. Have you ever driven somewhere and then not been able to remember the drive clearly? Or you've been doing something simple, like eating or cleaning, and realize you spaced out? These are moments when your autopilot is in charge. Your autopilot takes over when you're doing things that don't require active attention. Most of the things we do on autopilot are things we do habitually. That's because once we've done something enough times, we don't have to think about it anymore. But this means we're often not paying attention to what we do. And most importantly, we're often not paying attention to what our thoughts are doing. For example, you might develop the habit of speaking down to yourself when you make a mistake. "You're such an idiot," you might say. Eventually, this becomes a habit you don't even notice, like brushing your teeth. Because mindfulness is a process by which we live moment by moment, it can help us resist. This way we can make conscious decisions about our actions or the thoughts we want to entertain. Key idea: mindfulness is about experiencing each moment. The goal of mindfulness is not to shut off your mind. It's to give yourself the space to acknowledge everything you are thinking and feeling. You can accomplish this by paying more attention to things you do regularly. For example, choose one habit you rely on every day. This could be brushing your teeth, drinking coffee or tea, or walking from one room to the other. The next time you do it, give yourself the chance to experience it fully. Think of the movements, the sounds, the smells, and any other aspects you're experiencing. You'll be surprised how many details you don't notice when you're on autopilot. The next step is to bring this level of awareness to your negative thoughts. Chapter 3. Keeping the body in mind. Mindfulness. In 1980, psychologists Gary Wells and Richard Petty conducted an experiment highlighting the connection between our mind and body. They asked participants to test headphones supposedly intended for running. Some were told to nod their heads up and down, as if they were running. And some were told to nod their heads side to side. Afterwards, participants were asked to rate the headphones. Those who nodded up and down, imitating a yes motion, rated them much higher than those who had imitated no. This experiment showed that participants' minds were actually affected by what their body was doing. Similarly, how our bodies feel can affect how our minds think and feel. But most of us treat our body as though it were something separate from their mind. We don't regularly check in to see what we're feeling physically, nor consider what effect it might be having on our thoughts. But in order to begin living mindfully, we need to reconnect with ourselves physically. Key idea of body scan can help you check in with your body. Body scan is a helpful type of meditation to check in with how your body is feeling. This exercise requires you to lay down somewhere comfortable. Then, focus on your entire body, noting how it feels to touch whatever is underneath you. To be mindful, you don't need to block out your thoughts. Rather, encourage yourself to think about what you're experiencing. Feel your breath as it moves your abdomen and chest up and down. Go section by section, from head to toe, and check in with how your body is feeling. Then, continue breathing methodically as you mentally scan your body. Notice where you feel any tension, as well as where you don't feel anything. Once you finish the scan, take note of how your body feels. Even if you struggled to control your thoughts, you'll probably feel some relief and awareness you hadn't before. Once we've checked in with our body, we can learn how to tackle our most difficult problems. Chapter 4: Tackling Problems Through Mindfulness. Mindfulness. On a small Greek island, a little boy tries to get a stubborn donkey to move. No matter how hard he pulls on its reins, however, the donkey won't budge. Finally, the boy's grandfather steps in. He tells the boy that rather than pushing and pulling, the boy should face where he's trying to move. The little boy does as he's told and turns to face forward. And the donkey starts to move towards the correct direction. Williams and Penman say this is often how we try to tackle our problems. We try to resolve them with brute force. But when we tackle problems aggressively, like pulling at a stubborn donkey's reins, we increase our level of stress. Studies show that stress shuts down our mind's ability to think creatively. So, if we want to respond to our problems calmly, we need to create distance. With mindfulness, the boy might have stepped back from his problem and seen an alternative was possible. By creating this distance, mindfulness can help us develop creative, flexible solutions. Key idea: the breath and body. Meditation can give you distance from your problems. Breath and body is a meditation designed to slow you down. This way you can put distance between you and your problems and respond more calmly. In this exercise, your only goal is to focus on your breath. Find somewhere comfortable to sit and start breathing. Experience each breath individually. Are some shorter, longer, deeper? When your mind starts to wander, refocus on each breath again. An important tenet of mindfulness is that your thoughts are not you. Your thoughts will come and go independent of who you are. During this exercise, acknowledge the thoughts you have as just thoughts, and then continue breathing. Once you finish, check how your body feels. More relaxed? Lighter? Even if you failed to fully control your thoughts, you might notice that you feel calmer. Now that you're calmer, you can take time to assess your problems. Next, how can we build these moments of calm into our everyday life? Chapter 5: Our interpretations aren't reality. Mindfulness. Consider the following sentences. For many of us, our initial impression was that John is a little boy. But once we finished, we had a completely different take. John is a janitor. Often, we experience our day-to-day lives in a similar way. We interpret the world based on limited information and then react accordingly. These reactions can include our thoughts, physical sensations, or feelings. But we need to remember these reactions are our interpretation of the world. These interpretations don't represent the actual world. Key idea: the sounds and thoughts meditation can give you power over your thoughts. Sounds, like our thoughts, come and go out of our control. They can affect us and trigger emotions, but we have to remember any reaction we have is our interpretation and not necessarily reality. In the sounds and thoughts meditation exercise, begin by closing your eyes and focusing on the sounds around you. You might hear birds outside, the noise of traffic, or the sounds of your neighbors. Try to experience each sound fully, as if for the first time. Then, let yourself pivot. Just as you did with the sounds, let them flow in and out. If we treat our thoughts like we do sounds, we can accept them as something that will always be on in the background. And we can limit the intensity with which they affect us. Letting our thoughts flow is particularly important in difficult situations. We'll learn how to deal with tough situations next. Chapter 6: How to Accept Difficult Situations. Mindfulness. In life, we often encounter difficult situations. You might lose your job. You or someone you love might develop a serious illness. But for many of us, our natural instinct is to push away the problem. We pretend that nothing is going on. In other situations, we might desperately try to solve the problem, even if it's unsolvable. But these strategies can leave you worse off than you began. To diminish the power of some of these difficult situations, we need to accept them. This way, we can give ourselves the space to understand the situations and their nuances fully. Then we can decide how to respond to them. Key idea: the exploring difficulty. Meditation can help you accept difficult situations. When you meditate, you can check in with how your body is feeling. Focusing on your body can relieve the desire to try to solve or avoid the problem. In the exploring difficulty meditation, you can begin by slowly breathing in and out. Then, deliberately think about a recent difficulty you had. You might think about a disagreement with a loved one or any other situation that you regret. Consider this difficulty and notice how your body reacts. Where do you feel tension or pain? Allow yourself to sit with these sensations instead of trying to modify them. Then, return your focus to your breath and allow the tension to release. The more we engage with difficult situations and successfully calm ourselves down, the less power they'll have over us. Next, we'll learn how we can move beyond our past difficulties. Chapter 7: Trapped in the Past or Living in the Present. Mindfulness. At the University of Oxford, Williams conducted research to explain why sometimes we feel that we're doomed to repeat our past. In his experiments, Williams asked participants to recall times they had been happy or sad. Those who were stressed, anxious, or depressed struggled to provide specific examples. They might be able to say, "I was happy last summer." But they couldn't reference a particular memory. A sad person will generalize their memories, while someone happier can cite a specific instance, like a happy Sunday afternoon. So when we've become upset, stressed, or depressed, we also struggle to access specific memories. We think of our lives vaguely, and this can make the past seem monolithic. This effect can make us feel trapped in situations where we had previously suffered. Key idea: treating yourself with empathy can help you live in the present. To move out of the past and into the present, we have to treat ourselves with empathy. We have to step away from trauma and forgive ourselves for past mistakes. For example, we often consider our negative thoughts as a sign of weakness. We try to dismiss them. We say, "I'm pathetic. Why do I care this much?" Instead, we need to properly acknowledge our thoughts. Imagine them as a crying baby. Sometimes, holding them is enough to calm them down. You can say, "It's okay, I'm feeling upset about this. I don't need to feel pathetic." Treating ourselves with empathy and allowing ourselves to accept our emotions can help us move on from past trauma. Our next goal is to ensure we bring positivity into our daily activities. Chapter 8: Finding Joy in the Everyday. Mindfulness. Dr. Danny Penman and Mark Williams tell us a story about a woman named Marissa who lost the joy in her everyday life. Marissa had a very demanding job with a manager constantly giving her work. Over time, Marissa found herself sacrificing things to keep up. She quit her monthly book club. She stopped spending as much time with her daughter. The more work got busy, the more she gave up on the things she enjoyed that seemed optional. And the demanding tasks her boss gave her started taking up her every day. Soon, she became burnout and less productive. And she felt no enthusiasm for her daily life. Many of us might identify with Marissa. So, what's the solution? Key idea: introduce nourishing activities into your daily life to avoid burnout. We all have demanding tasks we have to do. But it's important to ensure we keep doing the kinds of activities that nourish us. Otherwise, we can grow depressive and exhausted by constantly doing things that deplete us. To see how our daily activities might affect us, let's consider the following exercise. List all the activities you do regularly. Then, note which of these activities deplete you and which nourish you. A depleting activity might be doing reports for your job, while a nourishing activity might be yoga. Although not every activity you do can be nourishing, there needs to be a balance. If there isn't, try to come up with ways to develop nourishing habits. These don't need to be complete changes in your life, like quitting your job. It can be something as simple as taking a 10-minute coffee break every day. Mindfulness is about harnessing the little moments, and if we can include these in our everyday, we're less likely to burn out. Chapter 9: Your Wild and Precious Life. Mindfulness. We often don't give ourselves the chance to feel complete. We finish one task and then jump to another. I haven't really done anything important, we say. But when we practice mindfulness, we allow ourselves to feel complete each moment. We can do this by feeling joy at even the smallest accomplishments. This can look like dedicating 5 minutes to clean or a few minutes to meditate. But first, we need to officially decide to live mindfully. Key idea: commit to mindfulness by deciding why it matters to you. To incorporate mindfulness into your daily life, you have to decide why it matters to you. Perhaps you want to be mindful for your mental health. Or maybe you want to be more mindful to have healthier and more lasting relationships. Whatever the reason, it's important you decide why mindfulness matters to you. Then, as life moves forward and your hectic schedule resumes, you can remind yourself. You can carve out a few minutes to check in on yourself mentally and physically. And you can continue giving yourself ways to live moment by moment. Hit that subscribe button and join us on this exciting journey.